In the middle of the last video, I made a comment about the fact that I really don't like the fact that the most obvious way to coordinate all of our sprites and to handle this idea of parallelism and all of the sprites working together to tell a story is this idea of carefully calculating weights. Again, it's the most obvious way to do it in Scratch. But it's not the best way to do it. And here's why. Right? There's a lot of math in here to add all this up and remember. And when I change things up, when I improve the story over time, I have to remember to change multiple sprites over and over and over again. One simple little thing here. Suppose, for example, I wanted to, before the story is told, I want to have Abby start way back here in the background and walk down the hall toward us. We might do that in a few minutes, but that's just simple animation, right? You did that in Unit 1. We could add that in, but as soon as we do that, now we've got to come back and we've got to figure out how long did it take for Abby to walk down the hall. And sometimes that's easy to know, and sometimes it's hard to know, and sometimes it's impossible to know, because as we move forward, there will be things that we don't know whether it's going to take 2 seconds for something to happen or 3 seconds for something to happen. And so I'm going to go back to this metaphor. This is a really lousy metaphor. In real life, if I'm the director of a play, I don't say to my stage manager, okay, when I yell action, I want you to count to 14. And when I get to 14 seconds, I want you to start the laugh track. No, that's ridiculous. What I say to my stage manager is, when I say action, I want you to sit there and listen until the scene is over, and as soon as Abby is done telling the joke, I need you to play the sound effect, right? I want you to do these things, but it's not after I yell action, it's after some other event happens. It's after the joke is done. Well, that's what we want to add in this lesson. How do we have this ability to sort of have things not start on the green flag event, but instead on some other thing? And I keep using this idea of events. An event, something causes something to happen. And so I'm going to switch to the event tab here, and the one at the top that we've used is when the green flag is clicked. And then there's some stuff in the middle, but what I'm really interested in is these 3 blocks down here that deal with broadcasting a message and receiving a message. The way that this works is that any sprite in the entire program, so we have right now sort of 3 sprites, Abby sprite, Devon sprite, and the stage sprite. Strictly speaking, I guess it's not a sprite, but we're going to think about it the same way. We have these 3 sprites, and any of these 3 sprites can send sort of a hidden message to the other sprites, and even to itself, actually. And so let's think about it this way. I told the stage manager I want it to listen for when Abby is done telling the joke. Well, there's no way to do that in Sprite, but maybe what I can do is to have Abby, after the joke is all done, send a little secret message. And the secret message that she could send is this message of the joke's over, right? And so she could right here, I'm actually going to put it right here. I'm going to have her broadcast the message that the joke is over. And again, just like pop is there by default for the sound, there's this default message 1. I don't like that. I want to make a new message because I like my messages to have names that are meaningful to me. I don't want to remember what message 1 is and message 2 is. So I'm going to say joke is over, right? That's my message. And so I'm going to have Abby broadcast this message, joke is over, as soon as she's done saying, fill up my cup, I'm out of coffee. And now what I can do is I can go to the stage and I can use this when I receive event header. I can say, when I receive joke is over, I want to play all these sound effects, right? And I'm going to get rid of all this other stuff now. I don't need to wait 14 seconds. I didn't clean this up earlier. So I'm going to throw all this away. Here we go. The only thing the stage manager does at the moment is say, when I receive joke is over, play the sound effects. And Abby now just says, tell the joke, and when the thing is done, say, joke is over, and broadcast that message. And then the stage manager is just listening for that message to come out. Now, I could put the Switch costume back on here, but just to make my point, I want to show you this, right? She's supposed to switch to her laughing mode when the joke is over and she's supposed to be laughing. And so I could put that there like that, right? I could do the same thing for Devin. Devin just says, whenever I hear joke is over, start laughing. I'm not sure that that is a necessary change or not, but it is something that you could do at this point. And now let me show you what happens. Right now, if you think about the way this is going, and let me put it in Abby's mode. Right, we start the joke. We did our places, everybody. We're telling the knock knock joke. Who's there? Philip. Now he thinks for 3 seconds, and then he says Philip who for 2 seconds, and he says Philip my cup. I'm coffee. She sends the joke is over message, and then she says, hey, I heard the joke is over, I change, but more importantly, way over here, the joke is over message got sent, and when I receive it, play the sound effects. And the nice thing about this now is that if I decide to make timing changes, if I decided, oh, this whole thing with 3 seconds of thinking was just too much, Devin should only think for 1 second. Right? Okay, well, I do need to change Abby from 3 to 5 because I took away he thinks for 1, speaks for 2. So I can change that. There was some coordination there. But again, the real advantage of this now is I didn't have to change the stage. Perfect, right? The sound effects still happened at exactly the right time because there's no timing involved here. There's no adjustment that needs to happen. All it knows is when I get that secret message that the joke is over, it's time to start the joke. And so we play that sound effect. And so by using this idea of broadcast and receive, we actually can do a lot of coordination of our sprites. In the next video, we're going to actually look at some more broadcasts and receives to really start to put together the big picture here, to use this idea of abstraction to think about how things can come together more cleanly.